everybody, hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to our Unit Level 8 discussion on Mesoamerica. Today we're going to focus on the Mayans. This culture existed in the southern region of present-day Mexico. Though their rise to power was impressive, their decline and failure is still a mystery to historians today. As with all of our lectures, please make sure you have your notes out and ready to be recording the details you need for this discussion. If you're using the comparison chart, please make sure that you're paying attention to which area of the chart you're writing your information. Additionally, if you click the links here, you can download and print them if needed. Last thing before I begin is to make sure that you take a look at some of the additional materials that are available on the SLC site. I strongly recommend them. There's some good stuff there, some YouTube links and some documents you can read to give you some more information that you might find useful for getting that advanced grade on your essay questions for that test coming up. Finally, and also probably more importantly, please make sure that you get all your cellular devices and other distractions out of the way. They're only going to slow you down and cause more of a distraction than anything else. So with that, let's get learning. So, let's take a look at the environment of where the Mayans call home. They lived in what is considered today to be southern Mexico, or particularly underneath and on the Yucatan Peninsula. If you recall, the peninsula is simply a chunk of land that is surrounded on three sides by water. Since this area is south of the Tropic of Cancer, it has steamy hot jungles that are cool because of their elevation, and all of these advantages certainly help to add some advantages to the Mayans, since it provides them with virtually endless supply of building materials from their trees, stone that they need for their elaborate tall structures, and some really good dirt for their agriculture, making it a prime place for them to be successful. Using modern technology, we can actually see the region via satellite. Here you can see what the peninsula looks like. To the north and to the west, you can actually see the Yucatan Peninsula itself and the Caribbean Sea to the north and to the east, and the Gulf of Mexico to the north and the west. Throughout the entire time span of their existence, the Maya people had a large number of cities, about 100 to 150. Here we can see the locations of some of those cities. However, these are the more major cities that existed. Each of the cities was self-functioning with their own government. However, they were united in their customs, trades, and religions, even though they had their own governments. So, the cities. We're going to look at three particular cities today. The city of Tikal, Palenque, and Chichen Itza, if I pronounced that correctly. So the first of these cities is the Tikal, which lies in the northern rainforests of the modern-day Guatemala. The size of the Tikal measures to be just over 6 square miles and houses a population between 10,000 and 90,000 people. Being one of the largest of the classical Mayan cities, one interesting fact to know about it is that they had no water other than what was collected from rainwater and stored in reservoirs. Some above-ground reservoirs, like in pitchers and big types of canisters, or some underground water, reservoirs, which are called cenotes, which we'll talk about later on. These reservoirs would collect the rainwater that would accumulate throughout the year. Since they're in the rainforest, they get a lot of water, so they just had to find a way to collect it. Our next city is Chichen Itza, which means at the mouth of the well of Itza. It's a very popular archaeological site in Mexico today. It's actually on the centermost tip, the tip but kind of near the center of the Yucatan Peninsula, and it's not too far from the modern-day city of Valladolid. It's considered one of the greatest Mayan centers. Throughout this ancient city, there are hand-carved monuments with artistic works of stone, different carvings, and inscriptions. Additionally, mysteriously built temples that spread out to go from here all the way down to present-day Guatemala throughout the jungles. Palenque is another of the Mayan cities located at the base of the Yucatan Peninsula. These ruins here date back as far as 226 BC, and they died off around 800 AD, when the civilization was no longer there. It's much smaller than Tikal and Chichen Itza, but it does have some very impressive architecture, sculptures, and carvings. Archaeologists have been able to do some research on the site, and decoding some of the glyphs, they believe that there's still a large number of unfound nearby sites that have yet to be discovered. Some things that have been determined by archaeologists is that the Mayans had developed a very advanced writing and language system, probably the most advanced system throughout the Americas. This system consisted of about 800 glyphs that represented words, people, and ideas. They also were pretty good when it came down to writing their history. This was done using what we call today as codexes, or a codex. Here in this picture we see what one looks like. This is only one of 3 that we still know that exist today. As you can see, it looks more like a fold-out pamphlet by today's standards. However, this is how they wrote down their histories. This particular codex is known as the Dresden Codex, which is about 39 pages back to back. What we can learn from this particular codex is their mathematical system. If you actually take a look, all throughout the bottom portion of this, you'll see that there's a series of dots and lines. They used what we call a base 5 system, where they have 1 dot representing the number 1, 2 dots representing the number 2, so on and so forth. But once they get to the number 5, you don't see any more dots. Now you see a line. So a line represents the number 5. So if I wanted to make the number 13, I would have 2 lines with 3 dots. Just one of the things that they've been able to learn by looking at these different codexes is their number system. Here we see a small type of representation of a Mayan glyph. These were found on an artifact known as the Copan statue. Throughout this, you can kind of see it's a large number of glyphs throughout one big square area. Each of these different symbols represents part of a story, and together they make one larger expression or idea of what the histories are. Don't ask me to interpret this. I have no clue as to what this says, but this is just to illustrate what their glyphs look like and how they might write their stories and their histories down. Okay, moving on. The Mayan economy is kind of interesting in the fact that the cities and the civilizations were able to trade with one another. That fact alone isn't as interesting as much as what they traded. A lot of the cities established a trading network where they would trade things through the use of roads and trails. Things that they would trade would include salt, flint, feathers, shells, and honey. Other things they traded were types of ornaments as well. Like here we see some jade ornaments on the bottom right hand screen. Jade is kind of a soft rock which is easy to carve. They would sell this jewelry, or it would be used for religious ceremonies, things along that nature. What I find particularly interesting is the fact that they didn't necessarily just trade one item for another item. They actually had a currency system using coca beans as their type of currency. Where today in America we use dollar bills and quarters and stuff, they use coca beans to trade with whatever they wanted to purchase. And this was all throughout the civilization. This was a common way for them to use a common type of money so that no matter where they were, everybody would accept coca beans. Just like in the United States, no matter where we are, we all accept dollar bills. It was a standard currency that everybody was able to use, get behind, and understand. So everybody knew what the value of something was based upon this the system of using coca for their currency.